Hello everyone, and welcome to Alternative Design's presentation of the September product launch. I'm Tim Harding, Chief Marketing Officer for Alternative Design, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today and learn about the offerings for the month of September. I have to say right up front, it's some pretty good stuff. I mean, the products have been getting a little bit better consistently over the summer, and now as we head into that prime selling time, which is September through November in our industry, that's when we make the hay. We've got some really good stuff on the shelf for you, some things that I think you're going to be happy to take to your clients, and just as importantly, products that I expect and anticipate will perform very, very well. You know, it's that time where the kids are back in school and the dust is settled on all the vacations, and now is a great opportunity to get out there and talk to people, especially when you've got a product line like I'm going to introduce you to today. Speaking of back to school, it's been a tradition on my part with these webinars to come September do a back-to-school webinar on MarketLink CDs where I go over some of the basics again, just lay the foundation one more time, stuff you've all heard before, but just kind of a refresher course to get you ready for this big selling season. And of course, I tried to do that last week where I tried to broadcast my annual back-to-school event, back-to-school webinar. A couple of things happened that were kind of interesting. First thing that happened was that when I titled it Back to School, a number of spam filters picked it up and decided I was spam, and it wasn't a legitimate email going to you. And so I got filtered out of a lot of mailboxes out there in the field. I found that kind of amusing but also annoying at the same time. But lesson learned, I'll be careful what words I put in the titles from now on, because I don't want to end up in your spam filter. Second, in addition to that, we had some technical difficulties with the broadcast. Apparently about 2/3 of the way through, the sound cut out, and we lost communication with a good portion of you. I did continue on with the webinar as we tried to fix it in the hopes that we would have a viable recording that you could go back and revisit, but unfortunately the recording was corrupted too. So it wasn't something on our end. I believe it was something with GoToMeeting that caused the problem. So unfortunately, I didn't get to complete last week's webinar, and many of you didn't get to hear last week's webinar on the back-to-school stuff. And we were unable to post a recorded version up on the website, so it's not even available in that regard. So what I intend to do is I will revisit that back-to-school webinar in the very, very near future, probably next week. But more importantly, I wanted to get today's webinar out on the new products. The banks are a little slow this week because of the holiday. That's not unexpected. They tend to drag their feet when there's a bank holiday. And so I don't have complete information from the banks yet, but you should expect to see everything posted on the website behind the agent portal sometime tomorrow. So we don't have all the term sheets in, and that's not all posted. A product grid is up, so you can at least take a look at that, and I'm going to walk through the products today so you'll have a good idea of what to expect. But my apologies on behalf of the banks for taking a holiday on Monday and being a little bit tardy in providing us with all of the information that we eventually will receive. The month of September is going to have 5 products on our platform. We're going to have one from Bank of the West, a very popular Commodities Income Advantage product is going to be available to you. Referral fee on that is 2.25% for the month of September. We'll also be bringing back the Barclays 7-year product linked to a basket of 10 equities. That's the one with the highest minimum guarantee that we could find. That one pays a 2% referral fee. The Goldman Sachs Momentum Builder is actually coming out in 2 flavors this month. The repeat, the 7-year product, as you know, one of my favorites, pays a 2% referral fee, but if you look down at the bottom of the product grid, there's a Goldman Sachs Momentum Builder that has an 8-year maturity. and that gives us the ability to enhance some of the things like the minimum guarantees, but also enhance your compensation in the form of a referral fee that's bumped up by 25 basis points. So 2.25 on the Goldman Sachs 8-year product, 2% on the Goldman Sachs 7-year product, and then we have a JP Morgan product, a 7-year linked to a basket of 10 stocks, but some very, very interesting features about that product. I don't have term sheets and so forth for that product yet, but there's something about it that I really, really like, and I think you will too. So with that said, I'll go through the products, and then of course, as always, I will take questions at the end. If you have questions during the course of the webinar, please feel free to go ahead and type them into the chat box inside your control panel, and I will, as always, respond to as many of those questions as I can get to. So questions in the chat box, I will address them all at the end of the webinar. So let's take a look at our Loan Commodities Linked CD, and it is, of course, the Bank of the West product, the 7-year commodity linked product called the Income Advantage, linked to a basket of 5 individual commodities, has a minimum guaranteed payout annually of 1%, or a maximum of 7.5%. So this one got bumped up a little bit. I think last month it was a maximum of 7 or 7.25. Now it's 7.5%. So very, very attractive product. Linked to the same 5 baskets of commodities: cocoa, coffee, corn, lead, and natural gas. And before you go dismissing commodities which have performed very, very poorly the last couple of years, that might be just the time that you want to add some to your portfolio instead of chasing returns. Get in when the market has been hammered. We see signs of it starting to come back. This product, of course, is what I refer to as the either-or product. The client is going to get either the minimum guarantee of 1% or the maximum of 7.5%, depending on the performance of those 5 individual commodities. The way it works is this: if all 5 of those commodities is equal to or greater than its initial share price on the closing date, then the client's automatically going to be credited with the 7.5% interest payment. So they don't have to be up by very much. They just have to be not negative. If one or more of those commodities is negative, then the client will receive the minimum guaranteed interest payment of 1% for that year. So very, very easy to explain. It's either or. Very simple concept. And boy, you just have to hit that 7.5% once or twice to have a really, really big winner in the certificate of deposit marketplace. Hit it once or twice, hit it 3 times, boy, you've got a champion. So a great opportunity here. I know commodities have been way down, but what goes down must come up, and vice versa. So might be a good time to open your mind and start taking a look at commodities again. Once again, a very, very good product, enhanced from last month, higher maximum payout of 7.5%. Client's going to get either the 1% or the 7.5%, depending on the performance of those 5 individual commodities. Quick look now at the rest of the product line, which are equity-linked products. Linked to the U.S. marketplace. We have one from Barclays. It should look familiar. We had it last year. This is the one with the highest minimum guaranteed annual interest payment. It's a 7-year product. Minimum guarantee of 1.40%. So still, very attractive there. Even if the stocks do not perform, the client is going to receive a minimum interest payment on an annual basis of 1.40%. Has a 5% auto cap feature and a minus 10% return floor for purposes of the averaging. I'll walk through the auto cap calculation in just a moment. But a very, very attractive product here if minimum guarantees are the primary concern of the client. I mean, 1.40 is better than you can get on a 5-year jumbo CD just about anywhere, and that's the worst they can do in this product, up to a maximum of 5% utilizing the auto cap calculation methodology. And in order to prevent a stock from burning the whole average, you've got that safety net of a minus 10% return floor. The Barclays product, as always, is linked to a basket of 10 individual U.S. stocks. And once we get the term sheets on those, we'll be happy to share with you exactly which 10 those are. But it really doesn't matter. The keys to this particular product are the high minimum annual guarantee and the minus 10% return floor, which will protect the averaging of the stocks. Client's going to receive whichever is larger, the minimum guarantee or the averaged return of those 10 stocks subject to the auto cap. New player coming out here today that I'm really excited about from J.P. Morgan Chase. Of course, we've featured J.P. Morgan Chase before, but this is a nice looking product for one primary reason, and I'll get to it because I want you to take note of it because it is very significant. It's a 7-year product, has a 7% auto cap, a stock floor of minus 5%. Folks, this is huge. I mean, when you are averaging the performance of 10 stocks, and the worst a stock can perform is minus 5%, that's your stop loss, that's your safety net, you've got an opportunity for some very significant returns on this CD. That is the lowest stock floor that I've ever seen. I mean, 5%, that is just marvelous when you start crunching the numbers. And if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you know that I frequently hit on the importance of not losing when it comes to the total return of a portfolio. Not losing money is more important than how much you make. And this is a product with that minus 5% floor on each individual stock is really, really set to perform well. And the 7% auto cap is nothing to sneeze at easier. The trade-off here is that there is no minimum guaranteed annual interest payment on this product. The client could potentially receive a zero annual return from time to time. It is possible, but I think the minus 5% stock floor with the 7% auto cap gives this product a huge chance of paying on an annual basis, even though it has no minimum guarantee attached to it. So that's the trade-off. A very attractive market-linked CD with the potential for an excellent return, but no minimum guarantee on this one. So, you know, we've tried the past several months, not to feature anything on our platform that didn't have at least a minimum guarantee on it. But, hey, this one looks so good when you do the math and crunch the numbers that we just couldn't resist. So, you know, please take note of it. The key factor in this one is that no stock can count against the average by more than minus 5%. Even if it drops 20, 30, 40%, it's only going to count a minus 5 in the averaging of the 10 stocks. So this is really an excellent product. The auto cap, as most of you are familiar with, is a unique calculation methodology. We're always going to look back to the initial share price of each individual component, whether it was stocks or commodities. And so on the anniversary date, or what is called by the banks the calculation date, we're going to compare the current price on the calculation date to the initial share price, what it was when the offering first closed. And we're going to do that for each individual component, whether it's stocks or commodities. We're going to do this for each one. Now, if the share price difference is negative, we're going to count the negative in the averaging down to the floor. Remember that previous product had only a minus 5% floor, so it can't hurt you more than minus 5%. So if it has a negative, we're going to count the negative down to the floor. But if the share price is not negative, in other words, if it's equal to or greater than its initial share price, each component is going to be credited with the cap. So on that J.P. Morgan product, if you've got an auto cap of 7% and a minus 5 floor, start doing the math. It really has the potential for some high returns. Then we're going to take all of those numbers on each individual stock, either the caps or the negative down to the floor, add them all up, and divide them by the number of stocks in the basket, which is going to be 10, and that will be the interest payment for that year. Okay, so add up all the positives and negatives, divide by 10, that will determine the interest payment for that year. If you aren't familiar with the auto cap calculation, or if you're a little bit uncomfortable with it and with explaining it, please don't hesitate to give your business consultant a call. And we have some tools to walk you through the calculation, and some point of sale pieces that you can utilize as well that will help your clients and prospects understand how the product works better. We always have products linked to an index of some type, and this month we have two. They're very, very similar. In fact, they're virtually identical. Both of them from Goldman Sachs, the Momentum Builder, which I've spent a lot of time praising. I think this is an absolutely marvelous product. We have a 7-year version where the interest is calculated and paid annually on what I refer to as annualized point-to-point. It is a multi-asset linked product. It's not tied to just stocks or just bonds or just commodities. It cuts across 7 different asset classes, and I'll emphasize that again in just a moment. 100% participation rate with no cap on the index. And so we have a 7-year version of it that pays annual interest with a 1% minimum annual interest payment. So the client's going to get either the annualized point-to-point payout or the 1% minimum, whichever is larger. And then this month, we also have an 8-year Momentum Builder product. It pays annual interest the same way, except we've got a higher minimum on it. So instead of a 1% minimum annual payment, it has a 1.20% minimum annual payment. So a little bit of an enhancement there. You get a little bit more in the way of guarantees by going out 1 more year. And of course, I mentioned earlier, you get a little bit higher compensation as well. So stretching it out 1 more year gave us the ability to enhance the product a little bit. By the way, this product is a direct result of Chris Gross negotiating with the banks to create it. And so what we're trying to do is squeeze as much compensation out in the form of referral fees for you as we could. And we've heard from you in the field that clients really like that minimum guarantee aspect, and we were able to make a very, very competitive product here by stretching it out 1 more year. Of course, the Momentum Builder spreads across 7 different asset classes. You've got a cash position, but you've also got developed market stocks. You can see the S&P 500 is reflected in there, but also Japanese and European markets as well. You've got U.S. bonds, treasuries, corporate grade bonds, and then high yield bonds. So you've got a good cross-section of bonds in the portfolio here. You've got exposure to stocks of emerging markets, and emerging bonds, and you've got alternatives. I mean, look, the real estate is in there, and the senior loan portfolios, as well as exposure to commodities and specifically exposure to gold, as well as inflation-linked U.S. bonds. So good portfolio mix. This one is completely rules-based. In other words, there is no money manager deciding what asset class is going to get what weighting. It's all done by math, utilizing modern momentum theory and modern portfolio theory. There is no money manager to mess this up. It's all done automatically. Everything goes into a magic black box and it cranks out the numbers, and it's rebalanced each and every month. So, I've emphasized before the importance of having a dynamic index. If you're going to link to an index, don't link to a passive one. You're linking to a dynamic one that responds to market conditions and changes and economic changes is really, in my mind, the next generation of indexing. It's the way to go. So this is a rules-based product. It's designed to be steady as she goes. And you can see by that red line right there in the center that although there's a high amount of volatility in each of the individual asset classes, you'll note that by using this rules-based methodology, the Goldman Sachs product, the Momentum Builder, is able to weather most of these storms and not have wide swings. And it's just a steady, progressive return. More recent returns, this product, the index was up 3.47% in August. It's up over 7.5% year to date in 2014. If you go back 12 months, 1 year, it's up almost 13%. This is a true all-weather performer, and boy, I wouldn't hesitate to offer this to just about anyone. It's calculated on across these. These are the total returns on an annualized basis going back 10 years. I've put this slide up several times because I like to emphasize, look at 2008 when the world was coming apart, the financial services industry. This fund, because it's spread over 7 different asset classes, only suffered a minor loss of about 1.5%. Every other year, in fact, was positive. The calculation methodology is a little bit different than you might be used to. It's what I refer to as annualized point to point. Once again, we're always going to be looking back at the index value as of the closing date of the offering. Then we're going to measure point to point where it is on the calculation date and divide it by the number of years so that interest is paid annually. And I've walked through the illustrations of that a number of times. If you want to walk through it again, your business consultant can certainly do that in about a 3 or 4 minute call, but I won't take the time to do it today. September cutoff dates, as usual, right around the 24th, but this time they're spread across 3 days, the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. So as we approach those cutoff dates for these offerings, I'll be sure to remind you in a webinar that they're coming up, and if you're close to closing a case, you need to be very aware that the product you're recommending may be closing off a little bit earlier than you thought. So we'll just monitor those. Of course, it'll be on it's on the product grid, and you can also see it on the term sheets when they're posted tomorrow. So with that, I will be happy to take any questions that you might have, and let me pull the chat box out here and see what we've got cooking. If you have questions, please go ahead and type them in, and I will respond to as many as I can. Let's see. Jack asked for an explanation of the auto cap. I believe I did that, at least the best I could. I will be happy to have a business consultant check with you, Jack, and walk you all the way through it. Anthony asks, does the 7-year variable pay up to 7%? In other words, could it earn, say, 5% in 1 year? Yeah, Anthony, that is correct. The product is not either or. It's an average of the 10 components, an average. So it could be between the minimum up to a maximum of 7%. Leo says the maximum weight on the Momentum Builder seems to be more than 100%. Please explain. Now, good question, Leo. The answer to that is that those are maximum allocations. Obviously, you can't allocate more than 100% of the funds available, but when you look at that chart, those are the maximums that the rules permit to be allocated to any one asset class at any time. So that's the reason they don't add up to 100%. It's really a control on where the funds are placed in the index. Lynn asks if we can have the charts sent on the Goldman Sachs program. The answer is yes. Those should be available from your business consultant. And if not, give me a call. Because, yes, those charts are available, and they are consumer approved. So if you're going to promote this product, you probably do want to have your hands on those. Question here from Lynn. Can you put something together, market link CDs versus ETFs? We had some smart Alecks who thought they were better. Well, they're different, but you will note, especially in that Goldman Sachs product, that it consists of ETFs. That's what it's linked to. It's linked to ETFs. Big difference is it's a rules-based methodology that utilizes 14 different ETFs instead of one or the other, and it moves among them freely based on modern portfolio theory and momentum theory. I think in many ways a superior product to trying to pick and choose your own ETFs. This is not to say that any particular ETF wouldn't outperform this product. In all likelihood, they would. It depends on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for guaranteed return of principal, FDIC insurance, across a diversified portfolio of ETFs, the Goldman Sachs product, I think, stands up to just about any ETF out there, depending on what the client's needs or risk tolerance is. Lynn asks, how can we legally promote the performance figures of the Goldman Sachs product in any mass media format? Lynn, give me a call. We'll talk about how you can do that. The Goldman Sachs product, because it is rules-based, you can actually backtest on it, which is not true of most of the products we feature on our platform. You can disclose those returns, but let's discuss how you might want to do that. Okay, I'm doing a commercial here for Terry Shepro. Terry says, I have a source for a list of CD holders. The minimum order is 5,000 names, and I have reserved nearly 1,000 in northern Nevada. The other names can come from anywhere, just so it totals 5,000 names. Anyone interested can call me at 775-332-2905, and you're on your own there because I haven't seen the list and I cannot endorse it, but I'm happy to let Terry share that information with you. Okay, with that, it looks like that is all of the questions, except one more here. Could we have the the number again? Yeah, Terry's number is 775-332-2905. And you can discuss the CD holder list with Terry. Okay, with that, I want to thank you once again for joining us today. We had a good month in the month of August, in spite of all the vacations and the back-to-school shopping. But now, folks are back in the saddle, and so it's time to make hay while the sun shines, as they say. So. Thank you for joining me. Have a great week. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place, 11:35 Pacific time. Have a great week.